Hello Golden State Warriors fans. We are here once again to bring you the latest news related to our team, and I would like to emphasize how committed we are to improving our performance to achieve great results. Before we dive into this intriguing news, I kindly request you to show your support by clicking the like button, and if you are not yet subscribed to our channel, I invite you all to join us on an exciting journey. Remember to turn on notifications so you don't miss anything.
An NBA analyst is pushing back against Steve Kerr's complaints about the Warriors' demanding schedule, arguing that Stephen Curry's star power comes with responsibility. The Golden State Warriors have been battling one of the toughest opening stretches of the season, and it shows. Sitting at 8th place in the Western Conference with a 9-9 record, some fans have gone as far as claiming that Commissioner Adam Silver is intentionally stacking the odds against them. Recently, Kerr voiced his frustration ahead of a matchup against the Miami Heat, calling the schedule brutal and unlike anything he's seen. And he would know, Kerr has spent most of his life inside the NBA, first as a player for 15 seasons, then as an executive, and now as a championship-winning head coach. Despite all that experience, he insists nothing compares to what the Warriors are facing this year. The Miami game will be our 17th game in 29 days, across 13 different cities. It's the toughest scheduling stretch I've experienced in my entire NBA career, Kerr said. His comments sparked mixed reactions around the league, with former player Eddie Johnson dismissing the complaints entirely. But according to Warriors analyst Dan Devone, there's a bigger reason behind the league's demanding schedule, and it's Stephen Curry. Over the years, Curry has become one of the most marketable stars the NBA has ever seen. Fans travel, arenas sell out, and broadcasts spike when he takes the floor. Devone argues that because of that, Curry, and by extension the Warriors, are placed in high-profile matchups that require more travel and tougher turnarounds. I think the Warriors have a responsibility, especially on the road. From a marketing standpoint, because Steph is Steph, you have to play. For the good of the sport, you have to make sacrifices for the league, he said. On one hand, that speaks volumes about Curry's value, not just to the Warriors, but to basketball as a whole. On the other hand, it raises a difficult truth. Is it fair for a 37-year-old future Hall of Famer to carry that burden this late in his career? As the schedule grinds on and the pressure builds, the question becomes impossible to ignore. How much longer can the NBA rely on Curry to shoulder the weight of its spotlight? Around the league, the discussion has quickly shifted from a simple scheduling complaint to a broader debate about player fatigue, fairness, and the NBA's growing dependence on star-driven revenue. Analysts on national networks have questioned whether the league is unintentionally creating a competitive imbalance by overloading marquee teams with exhausting travel demands simply to maximize television ratings and ticket sales. Others argue that the Warriors' struggles are not just about scheduling, but about an aging core being pushed to its physical limits. Several front office insiders have noted that the league has been emphasizing primetime matchups, international broadcast windows, and road appearances from high-profile players. The Warriors, with Curry as their centerpiece, have consistently ranked at the top of those marketing priorities. While teams like the Timberwolves, Thunder, and Rockets benefit from lighter national exposure, Golden State finds itself under constant spotlight, even as the roster reshapes around a veteran superstar. Players across the NBA have also weighed in, pointing out the contradiction between the league's push for load management rules and the scheduling realities that make rest nearly impossible. Privately, some executives have suggested that the NBA must eventually reconcile its commercial goals with player longevity, especially for aging stars who still draw massive audiences. For the Warriors, the consequences are already visible. The team has struggled to find rhythm, younger players have been thrust into larger roles without stability, and the margin for error in a competitive Western Conference continues to tighten. If the grueling early season stretch results in lost standings ground, it could shape playoff seeding, or determine whether the Warriors reach the postseason at all. Meanwhile, Curry's workload remains a focal point. At 37, he is still carrying the offensive identity of the franchise, still attracting packed arenas, and still being positioned as the face of nationally featured games. The growing concern is whether the league's reliance on him accelerates decline rather than celebrating longevity. If the Warriors fade late in the season due to exhaustion, critics will point back to this very stretch as the turning point. As the debate intensifies, one question lingers over the NBA landscape. Is the pursuit of marketability now outweighing competitive integrity? And if so, how long before the players, and the fans, demand change? NBA fans are sounding off after Kenyon Martin fired back at Draymond Green with what many are calling a petty and insecure response to Green's jab about his underachieving career. The tension between the two former players has been simmering for months, but it boiled over again after Green reignited the feud with pointed comments about Martin's legacy. Draymond, selected 35th overall in the 2012 NBA draft, has built a decorated career with the Golden State Warriors, one that far surpasses the careers of many lottery picks, including Kenyon Martin, the #1 overall pick in 2000. Despite their drastically different draft positions, their names keep colliding because Martin has repeatedly insisted he can name hundreds of players better than Green. True to his outspoken reputation, Green didn't hold back. Speaking on his podcast, he questioned how Martin could continue attacking him when his own career failed to reach the level many expected. "I don't know how you keep criticizing me when you didn't live up to what you were supposed to be," Green said. "Only one All-Star? Don't get me wrong, you were an All-Star. I'll give you that. A lot of guys can't say they were an All-Star. But being the player you were, and the defender you claim to be, and not even making second-team All-Defense? That's kind of underachieving." Green laid out Martin's resume plainly, highlighting how limited his accolades were over a 15-year NBA career. But while his comments were sharp, they struck a nerve, not with Martin alone, but with fans who instantly took sides. Martin responded quickly, doubling down on his stance and declaring once again that he could name 200 players who were better basketball players than Draymond. This time, to make it easier, he narrowed the list to only power forwards and named 44 players he believes were superior to the Warriors' defensive anchor. "I know 200 people better at basketball than Draymond Green," Martin insisted. "I'm talking about basketball, the skill required to play it. I can name 200 people I think are better than you. To simplify it, I stuck to power forwards." NBA fans didn't hesitate to react, and most of them weren't impressed. One wrote, "He literally listed every power forward in NBA history." Another added, "Kenyon, that's envy talking." A third mocked the list by pointing out, "He said Nene and Reggie Evans. Come on." Some fans agreed with Martin, with one commenting, "Every name here is valid. Draymond isn't a Hall of Famer." Others argued that while stars like Anthony Davis, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and Dirk Nowitzki are obviously better, Martin undermined himself by including players like David Lee and Reggie Evans, making the whole thing feel less like analysis and more like bitterness wrapped in nostalgia. In the end, the back and forth has become less about basketball skill and more about ego, pride, and a shifting definition of what greatness looks like. Green has championship rings, Defensive Player of the Year honors, and a pivotal role on a dynasty. Martin has athleticism, a strong career, and the memory of being a #1 pick, but the comparison hits harder because the resume doesn't. And that's why fans are captivated. It's not just a debate about talent. It's a debate about legacy, and who gets to define it. As the exchange gained momentum, sports analysts began weighing in, noting that the argument reveals a deeper divide in how players from different eras measure value. Older generation players often prioritize individual scoring and athletic dominance, while the modern game places greater emphasis on versatility, playmaking, defensive impact, and winning culture. In that sense, Green represents a new model of star, one whose influence isn't captured by box scores alone. Several commentators pointed out that Martin's criticism seems rooted in a time when power forwards were expected to bully their way to 20 points a night, while Green helped redefine the position entirely. His ability to anchor a defense, initiate an offense, and elevate superstar teammates has become a blueprint for the modern hybrid forward. That, many argued, explains why Green's resume is filled with championships and deep playoff runs, while Martin's career, though respectable, never reached that threshold. The debate also reignited discussions about Hall of Fame credentials. While some purists argue that individual talent should outweigh team success, others counter that impact on winning, at the highest level, is the ultimate differentiator. Green supporters emphasize that his leadership, defensive IQ, and postseason performances have altered series, shaped dynasties, and shifted the direction of the league. Martin supporters countered that Green benefited from playing alongside future Hall of Famers and within a system designed to maximize his strengths. Meanwhile, Warriors fans have rallied behind Green, framing Martin's comments as an attempt to stay relevant in a conversation that has largely moved past him. Neutral fans, however, see the feud as a reflection of a larger cultural clash, one that questions how legacy should be measured in a league where the game has evolved dramatically in just 2 decades. What remains clear is that neither side seems ready to let the issue fade. Green has made a career out of thriving in confrontation, using criticism as fuel, while Martin appears determined to defend a career that never fully matched the expectations placed on a #1 draft pick. The longer the debate continues, the more it exposes the uncomfortable truth at its core. Legacies are not just written by statistics, but by perception, memory, and the era in which a player's story unfolds. And as the discourse spreads across sports shows, social platforms, and locker rooms, one question continues to surface. Is this feud really about basketball, or is it about the fear of being forgotten? Stephen Curry's numbers are revealing something uncomfortable for the Golden State Warriors. The team performs noticeably better when he's on the floor without Jonathan Kuminga. And with growing noise around Kuminga feeling like the scapegoat for the team's inconsistency, the narrative suddenly carries more weight. At the start of the season, Kuminga looked like he had finally turned a corner. His aggressive scoring, athletic energy, and flashes of maturity gave fans hope that he was becoming the long-awaited bridge between the Warriors' aging core and their future. But that momentum faded. His play regressed, he was removed from the starting lineup, and now he's sidelined with knee issues, all of which have fueled speculation and frustration. Reports have circulated that Kuminga believes he's being unfairly blamed for the team's struggles, reopening discussions about whether Golden State should explore trade options. The numbers, however, make the situation even more complicated. Statistical breakdowns show that the Warriors are clearly more effective when Curry plays without Kuminga beside him. This is a franchise operating in win-now mode. With Curry still performing at an elite level, the organization is determined to surround him with pieces that maximize every remaining championship window. But a deeper look at the analytics suggests Kuminga may not be the complementary presence the team hoped for. When Curry shares the floor with him, the Warriors post a net rating of -1.00. When Kuminga sits, that number jumps to +6.88, a dramatic swing for a team trying to contend. Even more telling, Golden State shoots significantly better from three-point range when Curry plays without Kuminga, a critical factor in a system built around spacing, ball movement, and perimeter gravity. Long-standing concerns about Kuminga's fit within Steve Kerr's system are becoming harder to ignore. Despite his raw talent, his decision-making, spacing awareness, and shooting consistency remain uneven. Through 13 games, his averages, 13.8 points, 6.6 rebounds, 2.8 assists, and just 32.4% from deep, don't align with what the Warriors need from a player expected to elevate their ceiling. Given all of this, the front office may soon be forced to confront a difficult truth. If the Warriors truly intend to chase another championship, they may need to move Kuminga for a player who fits more naturally within the identity, structure, and urgency of the roster. The franchise can no longer afford developmental patience. Curry's window is shrinking, the Western Conference is unforgiving, and the margin between contention and mediocrity is tightening. Whether fair or not, the question is no longer whether Kuminga has potential, but whether the Warriors can afford to wait for it. Fontes internas de Liga também observam que equipes rivais estão monitorando a situação de perto, pressentindo que o Golden State pode estar chegando a ponto crítico. Alguns executivos acreditam que Kuminga ainda possui forte valor de mercado devido a sua idade, perfil atlético e lampejos de potential. Outros argumentam que os Warriors podem ter esperado demais, permitindo que dúvidas sobre sua adaptação, consistência e curva de desenvolvimento coroessam avantajam que antes detinam. Os efeitos disso se estendam também ao vestiário. Os veteranos entendam que a organização está priorizando maximizar o og restante Curry, e essa realidade pressiona todos os jogadores de apoio. Os jogadores mais jovens sentem o peso de atuar dentro de sistema projetado para estrelas que jogam estilo específico de basquete, leituras rápidas, posicionamento preciso e sinergia instantiva. Kuminga, apesar de todo o seu talento, muitas vezes parece ponto fora de curva nessa estrutura, em vez de uma extensão dela. Enquanto isso, analistas e ex-jogadores concordam a debater o que os Warriors devem a Curry nesta fase de sua carreira. Alguns argumentam que a franquia precisa ser implacável, desfazendo-se de qualquer peca que prejudique a capacidade da equipe de competir. Outros acreditam que colocar a culpa Kuminga simplifica demais problemas mais profundos do elenco, falta de estatura, defesa declínio, inconsistência vinda do banco e a perda de confiabilidade do núcleo reminiscente de dinastia. Mas a realidade permanece, os dados mostram quadro claro. Quando Curry joga sem Kuminga, os Warriors parecem candidatos ao título. Quando eles compartilham a quadra, o time parece comum, e às vezes pior. Para uma franquia que mede seu sucesso títulos, Esse contraste é impossível de ignorar. As próximas semanas poderão determinar se o Golden State optará por manter o experimento ou mudar de rumo decisivamente. Se Kuminga retornar saudável e não conseguir alterar a trajetória da equipe, a pressão para a guerra aumentará. Se os Warriors continuarem oscilando no meio de tabela, a diretoria poderá não ter outra escolha a não ser tomar uma decisão que sinalize a investida final e definitiva da era Curry. E parando sobre todas as discussões esta uma pergunta simples e incomoda. Jonathan Kuminga é uma futura estrela ou apenas mais lembrete de que os prazos nem sempre correspondem às expectativas campeonato? Steph Curry and Steve Kerr don't see eye to eye on what's really wrong with the Warriors after embarrassing loss to the Blazers. The Golden State Warriors are stuck in a spiral, and right now, they can't seem to buy a win. Heading into their NBA Cup matchup, Golden State was widely expected to take care of business against the Portland Trail Blazers. But when the final buzzer sounded, the Warriors were left stunned, falling 127-123 in a humbling defeat. The loss pushed them down to 8th in the Western Conference, now sitting at a flat 9-9 record, a stark reminder that this team no longer looks like the powerhouse it once was. Curry points the finger at the defense. In a night filled with frustrations, Stephen Curry was one of the few bright spots. The two-time MVP poured in 38 points along with 2 rebounds and 4 assists, doing everything he could to keep Golden State alive. After the game, Curry didn't sugarcoat what he thought cost them the win: defensive breakdowns and a lack of execution in key moments. "I think we played well enough to win, but we have nothing to show for it," Curry told reporters. A few defensive lapses at crucial times led to easy threes at the end. Early in the game, we couldn't secure rebounds. He doubled down, emphasizing, "Defensively, as a unit, we didn't play well enough to give ourselves a chance at the end." And he's not wrong. Defensive inconsistency has been a recurring theme all season. Now riding a 3-game losing skid, it's becoming clearer that Golden State can't afford to ignore this issue any longer. But Kerr sees a different problem. While Curry insists defense is the culprit, head coach Steve Kerr strongly disagrees. In Kerr's eyes, the real issue isn't stopping opponents, it's the Warriors' own offense. The 4-time championship coach explained, "I'm not concerned about our defense. I'm more concerned about our offense right now. We don't have much rhythm. We don't have much flow." Kerr's offensive system has always been built on movement, timing, and chemistry, but lately, that identity seems to have vanished. Shots aren't falling, spacing is inconsistent, and the ball isn't zipping the way it used to. If Kerr can't restore that trademark fluidity, or adapt to compensate for its absence, Golden State could be staring down a season that ends far earlier and far uglier than anyone expected. The locker room mood and growing tension. Inside the locker room, the atmosphere reflected the frustration on the court. Players were noticeably quiet, and several teammates avoided interviews altogether. While no one openly expressed anger, the disconnect between Curry's defensive concerns and Kerr's offensive assessment highlighted a growing internal tension, not explosive, but visible enough to raise eyebrows. Some within the organization privately acknowledge that the team looks unsure of its identity. Veterans are struggling to anchor the system, younger players are inconsistent, and rotations continue to shift as Kerr searches for answers. The once fluid chemistry that defined the Warriors' dynasty now feels fragmented. Analysts and former players weigh in. The loss sparked immediate reactions across national media, with analysts pointing out that both sides may be right. The defense has slipped, but the offense looks stagnant and predictable. Former players noted that the Warriors no longer strike fear in opponents. Younger, faster teams are attacking them aggressively, while Golden State's spacing and tempo, the hallmarks of their championship years, have noticeably faded. Several analysts also questioned whether relying heavily on Curry at age 36 is sustainable. His 38-point performance kept the team afloat, but it also highlighted a troubling reality. Golden State struggles to compete when Curry isn't spectacular. Pressure mounts as the schedule tightens. The Warriors' upcoming stretch doesn't offer much relief, with multiple matchups against playoff-caliber teams. A continued slide could push them further down the Western Conference standings, forcing the organization to confront uncomfortable possibilities, lineup changes, role adjustments, or even roster moves. Front office discussions, according to league insiders, have already begun circling around whether the current core can still contend. While no drastic decisions are imminent, the clock is undeniably ticking. A season at a crossroads. Whether the problem is defense, offense, or both, the Warriors find themselves at a defining moment. The loss to Portland wasn't just another bad night, it amplified every lingering doubt about the team's direction. If Golden State can't find cohesion soon, the consequences may stretch far beyond a slow start. What once looked like a temporary slump is beginning to resemble something much more concerning, a team struggling to recognize itself, and running out of time to rediscover what made it great. Steve Kerr offers a possible fix for the Warriors' rebounding woes after stunning loss to the Trail Blazers. The Golden State Warriors were handed a surprising and deflating defeat on Friday night, falling to an injury-depleted Portland Trail Blazers team in NBA Cup play. Even though Denny Avdija and Caleb Love delivered standout performances for Portland, it was the rebounding battle that exposed Golden State in the most glaring way. Heading into the matchup, everyone knew the Blazers were severely short-handed. They didn't have a true point guard available, and their second leading scorer, Shaedon Sharpe, was sidelined as well. Despite that, the Warriors were thoroughly dominated on the glass, being out-rebounded 52-32. Donovan Clingan and Robert Williams III combined for 21 rebounds, while Jimmy Butler led the Warriors with just 8. The second-chance scoring numbers told the same story. Portland held a staggering 28-10 advantage. Steve Kerr has long embraced a style built around smaller lineups and spacing, but this time, that identity was overwhelmed by Portland's commitment to attacking the boards on both ends. The result sparked renewed criticism of Kerr's rotations and added even more pressure to a coach already facing scrutiny during the team's recent slide. Kerr acknowledged that a too-big lineup may need to become part of the solution. To open the game, Golden State once again turned to Draymond Green at center, a familiar look throughout Kerr's tenure. But choosing that approach against a Blazers team anchored by 7'2" Donovan Clingan quickly proved costly. In the first half, Clingan controlled the paint, finishing lobs and grabbing offensive rebounds with ease. It became obvious that the Warriors had no real answer for him, and the same was true when Williams checked in as his backup. Eventually, both Clingan and Al Horford exited with calf injuries, limiting their minutes. Even with Clingan sidelined, Williams continued to disrupt everything inside, swatting shots and snatching rebounds in heavy traffic. To make matters worse, the Warriors were also losing rebounding battles to Portland's wings. Toumani Camara, Caleb Love, and Denny Avdija all finished with 6 or more boards, underscoring how wide the effort gap had become. Kerr addressed the issue directly after the game, saying, Al Horford, was unavailable. I'm not exactly sure what happened, but they came to me and told me Al was out. I wasn't sure what that meant. That was the game. So many rebounds turned into threes. Some of Caleb Love's threes came off offensive rebounds. 28-10 in second chance points. That was the game. Internal adjustments and what Kerr might change next. In the days following the loss, Team Insider suggested that Kerr and his staff began re-evaluating the balance between speed and size. While Kerr has historically leaned into versatility and spacing, the repeated losses in the rebounding department have forced the coaching staff to confront an uncomfortable reality. Golden State can no longer rely solely on small ball instincts to survive physically demanding matchups. Several within the organization believe that a shift toward lineups featuring 2 natural bigs could be tested in upcoming games, particularly against teams with dominant interior presences. The coaching staff has reportedly discussed giving extended minutes to players who can protect the rim, set stronger screens, and secure defensive rebounds, areas where the Warriors have fallen short. Players react to the rebounding criticism. Some Warriors veterans privately acknowledge that effort and positioning have been inconsistent. Younger players, still adapting to NBA physicality, have struggled to box out against stronger opponents. Meanwhile, Draymond Green, who has carried the bulk of interior responsibility for years, expressed that rebounding must become a collective commitment rather than a burden placed on 1 or 2 players. Role players emphasize that second chance points are demoralizing, especially when they lead to momentum-swinging three-pointers, a theme that defined the loss to Portland. Media scrutiny intensifies. National analysts were quick to point out that this isn't an isolated issue. The Warriors have been out-rebounded multiple times this season, and opponents have increasingly targeted the paint and offensive glass as a blueprint to disrupt Golden State's rhythm. Some commentators questioned whether the Warriors' personnel is structurally mismatched for today's league, where size and vertical athleticism are resurgent. Others wondered whether Kerr's loyalty to long-standing philosophies is preventing necessary evolution. The debate has sparked broader discussion about whether the Warriors are facing a temporary tactical setback or a more fundamental erosion of roster construction. Implications for the season ahead. The loss to Portland didn't just show up in the box score, it altered the tone surrounding the Warriors' season. With competitive standings in the Western Conference, even short stretches of poor execution can have significant consequences. Dropping winnable games against undermanned opponents raises concerns about playoff positioning and long-term stability. If the Warriors cannot correct their rebounding deficiencies, they risk surrendering control of pace, shot quality, and late-game execution, all areas that historically fueled their dominance. The coaching staff knows that relying solely on shooting and ball movement will not be enough. A team searching for stability. As Golden State prepares for its next stretch of games, the question becomes whether strategic adjustments, renewed effort, and potential lineup experimentation will be enough to shift their trajectory. The loss to the Blazers served as a reminder that even established systems must adapt, and that the margins in today's NBA are unforgiving. Whether Kerr's proposed solutions take hold, and whether the players can translate them into results, may define how far this team can realistically climb. Jimmy Butler says Draymond Green is furious with his Golden State Warriors teammates. What began as a promising campaign for the Golden State Warriors is starting to unravel. Losing to the Miami Heat could be brushed aside. The Warriors were exhausted from a grueling travel stretch and played without their full lineup. But when Stephen Curry, Jimmy Butler, Draymond Green, and Al Horford all returned for the matchup against the Portland Trail Blazers, expectations shifted. Even with Curry exploding for 38 points, Golden State still dropped its third straight game. That defeat pushed the Warriors to a 9-9 record, sitting 8th in the Western Conference, dangerously close to yet another season spent fighting for play-in positioning, something that has become far too familiar in recent years. Butler says the Stars are fed up. After the loss to Portland, Butler didn't hold back, revealing that frustration inside the locker room is building fast, especially among the team's leaders. Draymond Green's anger centers on defense. Known for speaking bluntly, Butler openly criticized the team's defensive effort after watching the Warriors give up 127 points to a Blazers team missing key starters. The six-time All-Star said, "We're just not guarding anybody. From what I can see, and I haven't been here long, that's not the formula. To win a championship, you have to take every matchup personally. Yes, there's help, but we have to be way better defensively." He continued, highlighting how the Warriors aren't stopping anything. It's everything. You're not taking away the paint, you're not taking away layups, free throws, lobs, threes. We don't know what they're going to get, and tonight, they got whatever they wanted. Butler insisted he remains optimistic, but realistic. We can win some nights when our shots fall, but you can't rely on scoring. You always have to defend. Until we do and take it personally when opponents score, we'll stay in a rough stretch. He added that the team plans to sharpen intensity in practice, one-on-one drills, defensive challenges, and accountability. Does Green take it personally? Butler says absolutely. When asked whether Green, the 2017 Defensive Player of the Year, shares that mindset, Butler didn't hesitate. "I take it personally. I know for sure he does. He's furious. He doesn't care who scores. He wants to stop everything, every possession, and he's right." Butler went even further. He has to help, contest, block shots, rebound. "Honestly, I'd be angry too if I were Dre." Green's emotional presence has already been a sensitive subject for the franchise after past conflicts with Jordan Poole and Kevin Durant. The last thing Golden State needs is a disgruntled Green in a season already wobbling. Is the Warriors' defense really that bad? Despite Butler's frustration, the numbers don't paint the Warriors as a disastrous defensive team. They rank 11th in points allowed at 114.9 per game, and while opponents are shooting efficiently inside the arc, Golden State sits among the league's top 10 in opponent three-point percentage, showing strength on the perimeter. But the trend tells a different story. In their first 9 games, the Warriors allowed only 106.3 points per night. Since then, that average has jumped to 117.3, a steep decline that mirrors their slide in the standings. Butler sees it, and he's warning loudly. A season that could slip away. If the Warriors don't correct their defensive slippage now, they risk falling behind in a crowded Western Conference where margins are unforgiving. Waiting too long could leave them scrambling, pointing fingers, and watching another season disappear before they can react. The message from Butler, and reportedly from a furious Draymond Green, is simple. Fix it now, or watch the season fall apart. national reaction, and rising concerns. The fallout from Butler's comments spread quickly across sports media. Analysts noted that it is unusual for a player to speak so bluntly about defensive effort this early in the season, especially on a team with established champions. Some interpreted Butler's remarks as a wake-up call. Others saw them as a sign that internal unity may be weakening. Former players pointed out that the Warriors once prided themselves on being the most communicative and connected defensive unit in the league. Now, miscommunications, slow rotations, and late closeouts have become recurring issues. Opponents have begun targeting mismatches, attacking the rim, and forcing switches that leave Golden State scrambling. Locker room dynamics under the microscope. Sources around the team suggested that while Green has been vocal, he has not crossed the line into confrontation. However, there is a noticeable shift in tone during team huddles and film sessions. Younger players appear tense, and veterans are reportedly pushing harder, demanding urgency and accountability. The coaching staff has tried to balance criticism with reinforcement, but the pressure of a .500 record and growing expectations has made the environment increasingly intense. One staff member described the mood as restless, signaling that players feel the weight of slipping standards. Scheduling pressure and standing implications. The Warriors' upcoming slate poses another challenge. Several opponents in the next 2 weeks boast high-scoring offenses and elite perimeter talent. If Golden State's defensive regression continues, their record could fall below .500, a scenario that would immediately spark questions about rotations, leadership, and even front office direction. The Western Conference is tightly packed, and small losing streaks have significant consequences. Falling behind early could force the Warriors into heavy minutes later in the season, increasing wear on Curry, Green, and other veterans. Front office monitoring the situation. Executives are reportedly watching closely, not only evaluating performance but also chemistry. A frustrated Draymond Green has historically led to turbulence, and the organization is mindful of maintaining stability. While no drastic decisions are being discussed publicly, insiders acknowledge that patience has limits, especially if defensive lapses become habitual. A team at a defining point. The Warriors now face a pivotal stretch that will reveal whether their issues are temporary or structural. Butler's candor and Green's frustration have brought internal concerns into plain view, and the responsibility to respond falls squarely on the roster. If Golden State recommits defensively and restores its identity, the season can still stabilize. If not, the narrative may shift from early season inconsistency to a deeper decline, one that threatens not just playoff seeding, but the core foundation of the team's competitive era.